Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Beware of men, for they will hand you over to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues, and you will be led before governors and kings for my sake as witnesses before them and the pagans. When they hand you over, do not worry how you are to speak or what you are to say. You will be given at that moment what you are to say. For it will not be you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will hand over brother to death, and father his child. Children will rise up against parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but whoever endures to the end will be saved." The Gospel of the Lord. It seems rather odd that the day after Christmas, the second day of the octave, we would be celebrating a martyr. And yet, this is why Jesus came. He came to lay down his life on the cross for us. And so it is fitting that we would speak of martyrdom early on in this Christmas season. Today's feast is a hard word. At least it is for me. It's a hard word, not so much because of martyrdom, but because the saints who die as martyrs, they forgive everybody. Those of us who don't get martyred have trouble enough with that. And here they are. And so Jesus was very, very clear that persecution will come. And you will be hated by all, he said, because of me. But for those who endure to the end, there's a promise. There's a promise that you'll be saved. But the promise implies that forgiveness of persecutors is necessary. It's a non-negotiable. Jesus said it himself, "Forgive them, they do not know what they do." He, from the cross, hung there by those who wanted to torment him and kill him. He wants to extend leniency. The only thing between Jesus' crucifiers and leniency is their desire for it. His desire is great, but ours may be wanting. And so then, St. Stephen fell to his knees in the last verse of this section, which you don't have in the reading today. Stephen fell to his knees and he cried out in a loud voice, "Lord, do not hold this sin against them." Stephen is begging heaven to be lenient and merciful. This is a fantastic love. Cannot be fathomed until one may be placed in the position of choosing to love such. It could be called agape love. It's the love of sacrifice for the beloved. There's no greater love than this, St. John would say, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Through the cross, on the cross, Jesus considered his enemies his friends. Isn't that interesting? And at the place of stoning, Stephen considered his murderers his friends because he begged for them. He begged the heavens for them as Christ begs for us. Stephen suffered for the sins of Paul even, who conspired in Stephen's death. And you see the power of forgiveness there, because Stephen is pouring out his heart to heaven so that Paul might be forgiven. And perhaps at this time not even knowing the ramifications of that grace of forgiveness that he would ask for St. Paul, knowing what he would do. I was reminded of the letter to James. The fervent prayer of a righteous person is very powerful. And whoever brings back a sinner from error will save his soul from death. Oh, how martyrdom could be so effective and yet so frightening. In the Liturgy of the Hours this morning, I was reading about how St. Fulgentius saw this. In his tireless love, Stephen longed to gain by prayer those whom he could not convert by admonition. Now Paul rejoices with Stephen, and with Stephen he delights in the glory of Christ. With Stephen he exalts, that is, St. Paul exalts with Stephen as they reign. This is the power of forgiveness, seen beautifully in the martyrdom of Stephen. And yet, in a sense, a type of martyrdom happens when we have to forgive, especially in a difficult situation. Part of us must die. That which abhors forgiveness must die. That which cherishes grudges must die. That which builds anger must die. All these things must surrender to the agape love of Jesus Christ that comes from through us by his grace and could be the difference of life and death for a soul. Imagine having that kind of effect in prayer.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit,